Many people have been asking me about my thoughts of Honkai Star Rail, and today I'm gonna do just that by talking about what in my opinion is the best story of the game so far, aka Penacony. Now, as a disclaimer, I am still not fully up to date with the story, but hopefully will be after this week is done. And the story so far is so massive, and there's a lot of videos explaining and covering the whole thing. I just want to talk about my thoughts on a few key moments and characters that, really stuck to my head. Also, thanks to MiHoYo for sponsoring this video, giving me a good opportunity to do this. Obviously, a big spoiler warning as well, it should go without saying. Okay, so a plot summary briefly first. The story explores the line between dreams and reality, governed by the mysterious family and all beings tied to the Aeon of Harmony, Zippy. Penacony used to serve as a prison for the IPC, but now serves as a sort of a utopia. We as the members of the Astral Express are invited to join the upcoming Harmony Festival, and during our visit a lot of things end up happening. One thing I quite enjoy about the direction of the story this time around is that we don't just experience the story from the POV of the main good guys, but we constantly shift between what other characters of the story are doing and seeing as well. Sometimes the events that we see are not even in a chronological order to make certain reveals and plot twists more surprising. Related to that, early on, after being separated from our friends, we meet a seemingly random girl in distress named Firefly, who is being chased. And after traveling and helping her out a little while, we learn that she is a stowaway, and that's why the authorities were after her. She then proceeds to take us to her so-called secret spot, where she tells us all about her destroyed hometown and that she suffers from a syndrome that is causing her body to fade from existence. But luckily for her, the dreamscape of Penacony allows her to still live normally. Now, after learning about her motives in this great emotional scene, we meet up with the rest of the crew again, and at this point learn of the Memory Zone meme, an entity formed from subconscious fragments in the Memory Zone. It's basically the death that shouldn't exist in dreams, bringing calamity in its wake. Pretty cool, but menacing. Now, Black Swan, the Memo Keeper, saves us after an encounter with this meme, and then lets us know that Penacony is slowly turning back into its original form, the Memory Zone, and that our invitation here was sent by the one causing these anomalies to happen in the first place. Now, our old friend Silverwolf helps us out by allowing us to access the hidden dreamscapes to get more answers, and after navigating through one of these, we finally meet back up with Firefly, only for the Memory Zone meme to chase us down and kill her in this absolutely heartbreaking scene. Yeah, this was a tough one, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure every player felt this when they were going through this. Although we do learn later on that her death wasn't final per se, as she returns and reveals that she is the Stellaron hunter known as Sam, or Swarm Annihilation Machine. Honestly, her character so far has been one of the more tragic and interesting parts of the story for me, and will be one of the characters released in near future too, so that's pretty hype. Speaking of interesting characters, I want to talk a little bit about Acheron as well. She was actually the person we first meet upon arriving to Penacony, as the main character gets ported to a shared dreamscape with her upon the arrival. We see teasers of upcoming characters in the story in this, and she also talks to us in a way that kind of makes it seem like we're somehow connected, but not confirming anything, of course, before sending us back to reality. Now, she originally fakes her identity, claiming that she's a Galaxy Ranger, but in actuality, she's a being known as an Emanator, who also killed another faction called the Annihilation Gang to snatch an invite to the festival in Penacony. Now, an actual member of the Galaxy Rangers called Boothill is tipped off by Black Swan about Acheron's fake identity, so he sets off to pursue her and her supporters. Now, Acheron has been mostly clashing with another character at this point, known as Aventurine, both which have their own motives as well. Aventurine more or less was forced to take the role of a villain in the story, and Acheron had to be the one to strike him down in one of the most epic battles in the story so far. She unsheaths her blade and cuts him so strongly that it literally leaves a visible rift in the dream walls of Penacony. Man, this was a great battle and a very memorable scene to me in particular. Another great moment in the story from the current patch was learning more about the history of Penacony itself and the mysterious man known as the Watchmaker. During a past event called the Freedom War, a Stellaron arrived to Penacony, but the Nameless of the Astral Express at the time warned the people to not mess with it. However, of course, a small group ended up, activating it anyway. Now, the family then concealed the Stellaron and worked with the Watchmaker, who we now learn was also a trailblazer, to make Penacony basically basically what we know of it as today. We then get the reveal that the servant boy known as Misha from earlier is actually the watchmaker himself, or at least the dream bubble that remains of him. His true name was Mikhail Shar Legwork, thus abbreviated to Misha. This flashback to me was really amazing, showing all the way from his childhood growing up and his life as a nameless, and then, you know, all his work with Penacony, all leading up to him retiring as the father of the entire place and dying of old age with a long life behind him. Then the player carries on the legacy of the watchmaker, acquiring the coolest thing ever, the watchmaker's hat, and unlocking the harmony path in the process. This was probably my favorite moment of the story so far. Very well directed as well. Now, speaking of flashbacks and of another character I mentioned earlier, I very much enjoyed Aventurine's story too. Upon meeting him, I very much disliked his personality, but upon learning about his past, his lost sister, and all the struggles they went through, I couldn't help but feel empathy towards him anyway. He's one of those tragic cases where the world just screwed him over. We also, of course, have the siblings of Robin and Sunday, who are very important to the story, but long story short, Sunday's plan ultimately is to resurrect the dead Aeon of Order to have his ideal dream world come true, and is planning on doing it during the Charmony festival. Now, this is basically the current point where I'm at in the story, where the festival is about to start, so I don't know what's gonna happen, but I can't wait to see how all the plot lines converge. It should be very cool, needless to say. Now, if we put objective thoughts aside about the story and characters, my favorite character definitely so far is Sparkle. From the moment she was shown in the story, I immediately liked her. She has this total Joker-like persona, an agent of chaos, if you will. I'm not personally sure what her main agenda even is in the story, but I'm just enjoying seeing her on the screen whenever she appears. She has this amazing sadistic vibe that is totally up my alley. Also, her trailers upon her release were some of the best media I've seen to come out of this game so far. Very much enjoyed those as well. I only covered a fraction of the story of Penacony in this video, and I didn't even mention all the characters involved either. I just wanted to chat a little about the things I enjoyed the most so far. But in the future updates, we will also see the releases of Firefly, Boot Hill, and Jade. Now, Firefly seems to be the big fan favorite, of course, not just from the current story so far, and I can totally see why people are excited about her. The tragic story and, of course, her badass side with this Becca-like design as Sam are both very cool. Now, Boot Hill seems pretty cool to me as well. His cowboy style with the fiery personality makes him a good wild card in the story. He constantly switches between like this serious mode and also a very goofy side, which really keeps you on your toes. Like, you never know what you're gonna get with this guy. However, personally, of the upcoming releases, I'm mostly hyped for Jade. We don't know too much about her yet besides her role in the IPC, but I really like her design and vibes. Like, what could I say? She and Sparkle just do things to me. They awaken things, okay? Now, again, I'm just gonna keep this video short because, you know, I don't even know how people are gonna like this sort of content, but do let me know in the comments how you guys felt about a video like this where I just, you know, blabber about random story related stuff. I'm not the most perceptive person out there, I'll be the first to admit, so I miss a lot of details and I'm out of the loop a lot of the times when it comes to this story. But if you guys want, I would probably be down to doing more of these in the future as well. And as usual, if you enjoyed the video, press the like button on it. It's a good way for me to know whether the content is desired after all. Also, do subscribe to the channel to not miss out on future videos, and let's enjoy Penacony together again in the future. And peace out.